This is the Western Obsessions TV podcast, where hunting's not a hobby, it's an obsession. This podcast is brought to you by Top Predator, a fitness archery challenge. Do you have what it takes to be the top predator? I'm your host, Kurt Belding, and today I have a guest on here, Sara Gamache. Me and Sara, we get to know each other a little bit, and I like to call Sara, my nickname for her is Serial Sara, aka Serial Sara, because she kills freaking everything. Just murders shit all the time whenever I'm with her. So, hey, Sara, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I like that you're at home and not in your truck, where the best internet service is for you, I know.
Yes.
So let me start this podcast out asking, why the hell do you have such shitty internet service at your house?
I don't know. We don't even live in the boonies, really. I mean, we're not in a neighborhood. We have 11 acres, but we have CenturyLink, and CenturyLink is like 1 megabyte per second. It's like AOL dial-up, like back in the day when you're hearing the little noise, the connecting noise. Yeah. That's kind of what it's like. So we can literally only have like one device on at a time. Like we can watch one TV, and then if the kids want to like play the Xbox or something, you know, Netflix has to get shut down. It's a mess.
It's like you're living in prehistoric times right now, where you can only run one device at a time, and it's like you might as well be living in a cave watching fire.
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty bad. We tried to get Comcast to come out here, and they quoted us $30,000. So I said, that's okay. I'll stick with my 1 megabyte per second.
So you will stick with driving your truck to the tallest hill you can find to get is that right? Like you probably go to like the tallest spot so you can get the best internet service for podcasts, huh?
Yeah, I have to drive like a mile down the road to get good service. So, but it's working pretty good, right? Like the picture is pretty legit right now.
It is good. I'm surprised. I thought for sure we'd be cutting out and stuff, but no, we're doing good. So far so good. Don't jinx us.
Okay, I'll make sure the kids
20 minutes. Yeah. So what's been going on? What are you doing now?
Kind of just unwinding after, last hunting season. And I've actually spent the last few weekends at home, which is a miracle for me. I don't spend a whole lot of time at home. I think
you're never home.
No. So 2 or 3 weekends ago, Caleb and I went to the ATA show, which was awesome. So that was my last little trip. And then I've kind of been home since then. And, we just bought a new piece of property about 45 minutes from our house. So we've kind of been hanging around so we could get that closed on and taking stuff back and forth up there. And that was kind of a new exciting thing for us recently.
Is it a hunting property?
It can be. We're hoping that it can serve as a hunting property. We're going to actually probably rent it out. It has a couple houses on it right now. It's 23 acres. So it's kind of like an investment property, but there is an understanding that if there's elk on the property, it will be used for hunting.
And you don't bring your old buddy Kurt from Colorado out to kill Roosevelt, right?
Yeah, because I owe you a hunt. And that's what we talked about, because he took me out last year. So I said, if you want to come shoot a Rosie, then now we've got even more property to do so.
Heck yeah, I want to shoot a Rosie. Let's jump into that. So me and you went on a backpacking hunt last year, and it was your, I think, first actual true obviously you go elk hunting a lot, but a lot of times your hunts are like day hunts, or it's near your property, or like you'll go camp, no problem. But like a true heavy backpacking, like lots of miles on your feet. This was one of your first times going, right?
Correct. Yes. And I've been wanting to do it for a long time. It's just out where we live in Washington, we know where the elk are. We don't have to hike for days and days and days and look for them. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's technically easier, but just where we are, it's not necessary to do those types of hunts. But it's always been something I wanted to do. So when you offered to take me, which was extremely generous of you to do, I appreciate that. I jumped right on it.
Yeah, and don't worry, I'll definitely going to hold that card in the back of my pocket and use it at some point.
That's fine. That is fine.
Yeah, and
great experience.
Yeah, and why would you go hike miles and miles and miles when you know where the elk's at? Like, obviously, I would never do that. The only reason that I do it is I got to go find the elk, right? So.
Yeah, I kind of struck a deal with my husband. That was part of the reasoning. He's always gone for elk season. He's usually deployed because he's in the military. And so I always get lucky to hunt our property or hunt some of the public land. And I've gotten elk like 3 or 4 years in a row. And I kind of told them, you know, this is your year, you're home for the first time, you're not deployed. I'll give you full rights to the property. I will stay home with the kids and watch the kids so that you have 100% of the time to go try to get an elk. And then in exchange, I was, you know, going to Colorado to do the backpacking hunt. And luckily the seasons, you know, fell perfectly to where we could work that all out. So we could both benefit from it.
And knowing you, I know that was a very difficult thing that you did, to give up your elk hunting.
It was.
For your husband. That was very nice of you. Yeah. And didn't like Caleb like hurt his back so he couldn't really hunt that tag?
He did. Well, he was, what was he, deer hunting, and he tripped and fell, or I don't know. He went out into like some horrible storm, which I told him not to do, and he wouldn't listen. He went out and he got hurt. So there was that. And then he ended up not really being able to get off work. I mean, even when he's home and he's not deployed, he's still working 9 to 5, and their schedules aren't very lenient. So at the end of the day, he didn't even hardly get to elk hunt. So I was like, okay. But he did an archery tag, and I did muzzleloader for Washington. And in Washington, you can downgrade weapons. So even during muzzleloader season, I can still use my bow. So his season was first. He didn't get anything. And then I went out with you in Colorado. When I got home, my muzzleloading season started here, and I went out and then ended up getting a Rosie on like the 2nd or 3rd day.
Yeah, I got a real nice Rosie with your bow. Got the kill shot. It was pretty sweet. I saw that on your social. So very cool. I mean, you know, just to have an opportunity to shoot an elk with a bow is you're, you know, in the 10%, you know, percentile of doing that. Most people don't even get that opportunity. So, and you stuck a really nice elk too. Tell me about that. I don't think we really even like talked about how that happened.
I don't think we have. So I decided to do like a girls' camp with my girlfriend Jessica, because she had she never really gets an opportunity to go elk hunting. She always has taken along with her husband. So she's like, why don't you and I go do it this year? So we ended up going to a place that is extremely hard to get to. It's actually a place you can't get to because it's kind of surrounded by private property, and there's like one way to get there, and it's really, really, really hard, really treacherous, and not very many people know how to do it. My family does, because I grew up pretty close to this area. So we went up there and decided to do a camp. We packed enough stuff for 7 days. It's not a place where you can kind of day hunt, where you can come and go. Like once you're there, you want to be able to stay there. So we took all of our stuff. Luckily, I kind of knew what to do because I just got back from Colorado hunting with you. So I knew what was necessary. I knew what wasn't necessary to bring. So my pack wasn't as heavy, which was nice. So we got up there, and her and I would split up for our hunts in the mornings and evenings. And I think, like I said, I think it was day 3, my brother actually asked if he could come hunt. I was kind of jealous that we were there. It's actually his and I's spot that we usually go to. And so he's like, man, I want to come up there with you guys. And I said, that's fine. Why don't you come up one evening and call for me? So he joined us up there, and him and I sat at a little spot and did some calf calling, probably for about 20 minutes. And there was a giant black bear that we had on camera in that spot. And we started hearing some noises, and it's kind of weird, you know, like when you're in the woods, you're always trying to figure out, like, where is it coming from? What kind of animal is it? Could be a squirrel, could be a bear, like, you don't know. So we were
especially where you guys hunt there in Washington is real thick.
It's thick. It's super thick. Yeah.
You're looking at 20, 30 yards all the time, right?
Right. Yep. So really thick underbrush. And tell them I'm not available. They're gonna have to call Dad. Sorry. And so we kept hearing this noise, and he's like, man, it almost sounds like maybe it's that bear, and it's like circling us, like trying to catch our scent or something. And so I was like, yeah, well, I'll shoot a bear. I'll be happy with that too. But then
of course you will, Sarah. Sarah.
Because like I said, he was calling and nothing was responding back to us, and he was calf calling. So that's why we thought it could have maybe been this bear. Well, then after about 15 minutes, I looked up and I saw the antlers coming through the trees, and I was like, oh no, it's an elk. It's an elk. I'm nudging my brother, like, he's right there. So this bull came in silent. He did not respond to us one time to that call, but he came into it, and my brother was ranging for me as he was coming in, and I have a single pin. So people, that's like a huge like controversy. Are you supposed to hunt with a single pin? Most people would say no, it's stupid to hunt with a single pin, because if the animal moves and you're at full draw, you either have to compensate aiming high or low, or you have to completely let down and move your dial.
Right.
So he was telling me these different ranges, and I would try to get pulled back when the bull would stop. And as soon as I try to get pulled back, it would turn and look at me. Like, it was sensing we were there. And so I'd have to let down, and we were just like this, like holding completely still, like not moving for like 2 minutes. And then he would turn and start to walk. So I'd start to pull back, and he would turn and look at us, and I'm like, oh my God. So that happened like 3 times. And by the 3rd time, like, my nerves were so high. I usually am dead calm, but at that point I'm so nervous, because I'm like, this thing, like, he knows we're here, and I have to get draw back. So by the 3rd time I went to draw back, and then I'm struggling to get my bow back. And my brother's looking at me like, come on, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm so freaking nervous right now. I can't get my bow back. So I finally get it back, and the elk, he wasn't looking at us, and he was perfectly broadside. But during all that time of me trying to get to full draw on him, I wasn't remembering the last range that my brother gave me. So I ended up shooting, what was it, like 4 yards higher than I should have. I can't remember. It was like, I think 28 yards is what he was actually at. I think I shot him for like 33. So after I shot him, I looked at my brother and I was like, 33 yards, right? He's like, no, 28 yards. Shit. So I'm panicking, because I'm like, well, I know I shot him high then, but we found good blood right away. And it was in the evening, and we found a ton of good blood, and it got dark, and we followed it probably about 60 yards. And then we found my arrow, and it looked like my arrow was like a complete pass through, but then the blood stopped, and we couldn't find even, I mean, it went from being like a massacre, like a huge blood trail that we're just casually walking through the woods, like, oh, there's blood, finding the arrow and not finding one more drop of blood.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like pure panic. And it, like I said, it was nighttime at this point. So we decided, well, let's call it a night and come back in the morning, and we'll have our buddy Joel Turner come up and help us and see if we can find it. So I had, obviously we know how this goes, a horrible night. Like, I don't think I slept, because going over everything in my head. Yeah, thinking that I hit him too high. We got up there in the morning, and from last blood, he was literally like 30 or 40 yards from where we had stopped. So we just had to have kept going a little bit further, and I probably could have gotten a better night's sleep, but yeah. It was fine.
Well, at least you got the retrieval, and you got your bull, and yeah, like the 1 pin sights, like, yeah, my opinion is I use actually a lot of fixed sights. Like, I use like 6 pins, but that is the downside of the 1 pin. If they move a little bit, you have to either raise or lower, but you got the job done. And so like you and your girlfriend split up every day. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
I don't like hunting with people, believe it or not.
No, I get it. I like hunting solo too. I like hunting by myself, because you kind of just zone out to your own world. But I'm surprised that you guys split up, and that's pretty meaning, like, props to you guys. You must know the area pretty well anyway, right? Does she know the area pretty well?
She doesn't. No, we had gone up there in the like in the summer to scout and put up trail cameras, and I kind of took her up there to show her what I want to do and what the game plan was, just so that she could be confident it was what she was going to want to do. If she was going to give up her elk season to come hunt with me, I wanted her to feel comfortable about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would say the only sketchy part was, like, we had cougars on camera up there, and we had huge black bear. I mean, there's a ton of predators up there. My brother actually shot a bear there 2 years before that with his bow, when he was calf calling, and a bear came in. So there were times at night where we're split up, and at night walking, I mean, I had to walk a ways by myself, complete darkness, knowing that there's all those predators where I was. That was the only part that was a little bit sketchy. And I think she felt the same way. She was like, man, this is new. She goes, I'm always on edge until we meet up. And then once we meet up, you have that person with you, so you feel better. But I mean, we had to put our food, like tie our food up into the trees and stuff, because yeah, just a ton of bear in that spot.
Oh yeah, that's hairy for anybody. You know, I get sketched out when you're backpacking alone and walking at night, or even sleeping in a tent at night. Like I'm not
Yeah.
too proud to say that. Yeah, it gets a little weird, when you're by yourself.
And her and I didn't share a tent. I was in my little mummy bag, like what I had in Colorado.
Yeah, your sleep system. Yeah.
Only enough room for one person in that thing.
And props to you and your brother to know that there was an animal in the area nearby, because if you didn't hear the animal moving in the underbrush, you had no idea, and you could have busted him out. You know, you wouldn't have been prepared. So props
Yeah.
on that, him, for that bull coming in silent. So
Kind of exciting though when they're not talking, and then all of a sudden you just kind of, you never know what's coming in, and then you see it and it ends up being, your target animal. I feel like it's almost just as exciting as if we were talking back and forth to him.
oh, for sure. And your heart rate goes through the roof. And yeah,
Hmm.
no, I get it 100%. So let's go, let's jump to your back to your Colorado backpacking hunt. And, me and you had talked about it for a little bit, that you're going to come out. And I was kind of sending you messages of things to get and what to bring, what not to bring. And Caleb kept going, I don't know, man, you're going to have to carry your pack probably. Like, he kept like downplaying like that, And I was like, oh crap, taking Sarah hunting. I'm probably going to have to carry her pack most of the time. But let me tell you guys listening, Sarah's a badass. And she did absolutely awesome. She kicked the
Yeah.
mountain's ass. There's only a couple times she was like, yo, Kurt, I don't know about this. Rightfully
Yeah.
so, because if you know me, if anybody hunts with me, there's always some sort of danger at some point in my hunt of that, like it's a little sketch. So but
Yeah.
yeah, tell me about that hunt in your own words.
I didn't know what to expect because, like we said, it was my first time doing it. I was a little bit nervous because I went to Aaron Snyder's like backcountry camp, and him and Caleb did a little spiel about all the things that can go wrong in the backcountry, how to deal with emergencies basically. And then they got talking about altitude sickness and pulmonary edema and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, what the hell is all this? Like, I didn't know about this stuff so where I'm at in Washington, I'm at sea level. Where we were going to be hunting, what were we, like 10 to 11,000
Yeah.
feet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my biggest concern was, am I going to get sick up there? Because physically I had been training for it. I knew I was in pretty good shape, that I could probably handle the hiking, but I didn't know what the elevation was going to do. Was I going to have hard time breathing? Like, was I going to get pulmonary edema? People say that it feels like flu-like symptoms where you get nauseous and you puke. And so I got that in my head, and that really sketched me out. But I was shocked because when I got there, I didn't feel like I had really any problems with that. The first night, once I got in my little sleep sack, which I'm like completely contained, I had a hard time breathing. That was probably the only time I'd say on that trip that the altitude probably really got to me. But the rest of it was kind of what I expected. It was definitely hard. You kicked my ass. Like we hiked in like 7 miles, and then you think like, okay, well, I'll recover from that 7-mile hike tomorrow. No, there's not one day of recovery, because you're turning around hiking 7 to 10 miles every single day. So no rest for the wicked, man. I mean, we never got back to camp before like 9 o'clock. I don't think, hardly ever.
No, I don't think there was ever a time that we got back at daybreak or daylight,
Mm-mm.
sun going down. It was always at least a couple hours after dark, and we're usually at least 5 miles away from camp when we
Right.
decided to come back to camp. So yeah, it was definitely a tough backpacking hunt. And yeah, your little sleep system, I would have been so claustrophobic in that. With
Yeah,
like, it's just a
definitely.
little mummy bag zipped right over your face. There's no way I could have
Hmm.
done it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good hunt. I think it was that a 5-day hunt? Were we in there in 5 days?
Yeah,
I think.
5 or 6 days. And then the other two joined us. Well, no, Chase went in with us, but then Ben joined us on towards the end,
Mm-hmm.
and had a couple days with us. And I mean, we have a lot of close encounters. It was exciting. Every day we had action. There wasn't ever a boring day. We were always in elk.
Yeah, we got
So,
an elk every day. And there was a moment that was a pretty crazy moment with me and you. We were, I don't remember if you remember this evening, but we were back. We found elk finally. And I mean, like you said, we were in elk every day, but we were definitely in them. And we were chasing them along that flat up on
mhm.
top, and zero cover. and it's getting to be almost dark, and we're like, hey, screw it, I've got this decoy, let's just antelope style hunt these elk. So we're running with this decoy, and you're behind me in a bow, and I'm calling and screaming, and they're like, yo, I don't think that's an elk. But they didn't blow out. They just kind of kept moving off, and we kept chasing and chased them for a couple miles that way. That was pretty crazy.
That was crazy because there were two herd bulls, and they both had cows, and they were kind of distracted with each other already.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, one bull took some cows from the other one. So one of them was pissed, like just mad. And then we're over there with our little cow decoy. I just felt like those elk had to have been like, what the hell is going on right now? Like there was just so much chaos in that flat area. Yeah. Cows running everywhere, bulls running everywhere, us in the middle with the decoy. I mean, it was wild.
It was definitely not your traditional way of elk hunting at all.
It was not.
But it was fun, and we were definitely it wore us out. It kicked my butt for sure, because we're sprinting after these elk and bugling. They're probably like, why is that cow bugling at us?
Yeah, well, it was on our way back to camp anyways. It's not like we went out of our way to go do it. It was on our way back to camp. We were actually pushing them more closer to our camp the way they were going. And it was just kind of like, what the hell? We're already going that way. We didn't have any cover. We didn't have any other options. So we did what we did, and it was fun just to watch them. And
we came close. We got within the 100 yards of them at one point.
Oh, if we were rifle hunting, we would have been, fine.
Yeah. Dead bulls for sure. And there was a big one in there.
Hunt, sure, yeah. But then that would have been, that was where Chase ended up shooting or taking a shot at one too, was right out in the open. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just kind of weird how that worked out, because the area we were in, there was definitely some thick, some forest that we were in too, but the elk wanted to be out in those big open plains.
Yeah, they felt comfortable out there, I guess, until we got pushing them around. But there was a big bull in there, and you're like, that is my bull. So we pushed him towards camp, knew where he was at, and we got on him the next morning, but found him. Unfortunately, he just slipped away from us. But we were, like you said, we were on elk all day. And later that day, we were on elk down on that bottom. Like, it was a fun experience. I wish I could have got you a shot. I think we were close multiple times, but at least you got to get thrown in the fire and what backpacking elk hunting is all about in Colorado, right?
Heck yeah. Yeah. And it was nice too, because you always hear of how many people are on public land out there. And we did run into people, but I think that part of the reason why there wasn't more is because of how far in we went. And that's obviously what you have to do, because if you're only going to go in a couple miles, just from the stories that I hear, it sounds like there's just hundreds of people. It's just not even worth it.
Oh, yeah. Over-the-counter units in Colorado during archery season there's a ton of people, unless you get in deep and far. But like nowadays, there's a lot of our archery hunters are in good shape, and they're getting in deep and far too, and there's too. So, yep.
People with horses too, yeah.
Yeah, we should have brought horses.
I was like, God, I hate these people right now.
You literally offered to buy or like rent a horse from that guy.
I said, if we shoot an elk where Kurt's trying to get me to shoot an elk way down in one of these canyons, I'm coming back for your horse. I'm just telling you right now.
If you wake up next morning and your horse is gone, I've got it.
Yeah. I was just trying to pull the female card, just sympathize for me because I'm a girl, but they weren't buying it. They're like, yeah, you don't look like typical girl. We're not going for that shit.
They didn't buy it one bit. So, which leads me into my next question for you. And I know it's probably something you've talked about quite a few times on podcasts, and you probably talk about a lot, but I think it needs to be talked about and continue to be talked about, is just women in the industry. Where was it? Let's talk about women in the industry 10 years ago, and then where is it now? And what are some things that you experience? And what are some things you wish were different?
Yeah. So I can't really speak to what it was 10 years ago, because I don't really know, because I won't say I was like in the industry 10 years ago. I've definitely been hunting that long. I've been hunting since I was 11. And back when I was hunting, I was the only female, in my small little town really that was doing it. And I did it because I went out with my dad and my brother. Social media wasn't big. So if there were other women hunters locally, you didn't really know about it. You know, you weren't seeing it on social media. It would have to just be a personal friend. Big names. I mean, probably Eva Shockey was the first female hunter name that I came to know, obviously because of her dad, you know, Jim Shockey being so famous. So I felt like she was, as far as I remember, kind of one of the front runners, especially kind of in the archery world. You know, she has her own bow with Bowtech. That was actually the first bow that I ended up getting. So I think obviously with everything in the world, social media changed what happened with women in hunting. And I mean, that was actually how I decided I kind of wanted to promote it. I'd been hunting my whole life, but no one really knew anything about me or my hunting experiences besides the people that knew me personally. And then when social media came out, I kind of noticed that, hey, there's a lot of women on here that are talking about their hunts, posting pictures. Maybe that's something I should do, you know? So I started doing that and kind of got a name for myself in the industry. And it's changed. So that was probably like 4 or 5 years ago when I started my Instagram and really started promoting myself. And that time, like, seems like everyone and their mom is on there now trying to do it. And it's become really hard to differentiate who the ones were that kind of were like, took my approach where they've been hunting their whole lives, is something they're passionate about. I'm passionate about it, whether people know I do it or not. Like, I did it for all those years. No one even knew besides my family, and I went out and did it. I'm no different today. I'm still doing the same stuff for the same reasons. And there are a lot of other women out there who have big social media pages who are the exact same. And then there are women out there who are maybe doing it for the wrong reasons, maybe just strictly started social media and getting into hunting because they want attention for it, or that, you know, that they notice they can get some likes. There's the whole huntress influencer controversy that's always getting thrown out about women, you know, posting hunting content like in bikinis, or, you know, they're just doing stuff to try to get attention.
Ridiculous.
So so women, I felt like when we started out, we were doing good and everyone was like, yeah, this is awesome, women are getting into it. We're actually the only growing demographic. Women and children were the only growing demographic in hunting, and so that was good to see. And then you had these bad apples come along and doing this crap to try to get attention, and then it kind of just left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And so now we're trying to like recoup that respect, and it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because you have to now prove yourself. I feel like if I'm trying to work with a company in the hunting industry, sometimes they're apprehensive just seeing that I'm a female, because the companies have gotten backlash by working with the wrong females. And so they got to do their homework on who they want to work with to make sure it's the right person representing their brand.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I know you really well, and I know how authentic and genuine you are with the hunting. And I know you get not a lot, but you definitely get some negativity thrown at you of like, oh, did you even kill that? Or are you just taking a picture? You know, like, and it waters down the industry for women, the women that aren't doing it correctly, that are taking a picture with an animal or a fish, wearing something a little bit provocative just for likes on social media and then to build a following. Where like, now you're right, people are skeptical, brands are skeptical. So when you're doing it right and you're genuine and you are just a genuine hunter, now there's some like skepticism of like, okay, are you or are you not? And you kind of have to prove yourself, which that's real unfortunate. That really sucks.
Yeah.
You know? So,
well, it's fine. I mean, I honestly would rather work with companies that put me through that process, you know, that aren't just gonna, you know, I have companies all the time that reach out to me that are only looking at my following. They've never talked to me before. They don't know me personally. They maybe have looked through my Instagram, but they're looking at my number and they want to give me a product and they want to work together. And I would say 99% of the time I say no to those companies, because that's not how I operate. That's not how a relationship should be started on either end. Me not knowing their product and them not knowing me, I'm not just going to say, yeah, I want free stuff and then post for it on my page. There are women that do that. There are a lot of women that do that. And that's why companies have this approach, because they've gone away with it with other women. And I make it very clear that no, that's not how I want to do stuff. I want to use your product, know that I like your product. I want you to know more about me. I want you to interview me. These are the questions you should be asking me to even make sure that I'm the right fit for your brand. I might not be. So it comes on both sides as far as the responsibility. The companies need to do their due diligence, and the women or men, because there's men out there doing the same thing with sponsorships and working with companies, they need to do their due diligence too.
100%. And it's been really interesting watching the industry change over the last even year. Growing up, I loved watching hunting shows, because I get so excited. I sit there and watch so many hunting shows. But it literally all right, not every show is like this, but for the majority, it's a Bubba with a beer gut shooting a whitetail.
Pretty close.
Yeah. So, and I'm redneck. I'm a Bubba. I get it. Like, it was a redneck Bubba beer gut shooting a whitetail.
Yep.
And I'm just so glad now that there's more of this athletic hunter. Women are getting super in the industry, and you guys, you can tell who's a legit woman hunter and who is not. It's very easy to tell who's legit and who's not just by watching what they do. Even watching how they hold a firearm or a gun. Like, yo, you're not a hunter. You literally are holding that way wrong. That's a left-handed bow, and you have it in your right hand. You are not legit.
Yeah. I've seen some of those memes. They're pretty funny. Yeah. They're getting easier to spot, and people are becoming more privy to that kind of stuff. And then that's how it should be. Like I said, I appreciate a company more that's going to do their homework and put me through the ringer. And there's some companies that I've tried working with that have made me wait, a couple years, watching me through the years to make sure that I'm the real deal. And that's their name on the line. So I get it. That's what they need to do. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it is. Even 5 years from now. I think what I'm seeing the most right now happening in the industry is there's always a lot of divide. You see a lot of turmoil, like against rifle hunters versus bow hunters, or the whole female hunting controversy thing. But now all hunters in general seem like we're under constant attack. I mean, every time I get on social media, I'm seeing a headline of another liberal state that's trying to pass some crazy hunting law. Like, we're dealing with it right now in Washington. They're trying to take away our spring bear season. And so now all of us as hunters are coming together to try to, fight against all these things that they're trying to pass. So that's kind of cool to see, to kind of watch the unity over the past, I don't know, I'd probably say 6 months. People have really started coming together, even if it's for a state that they're not from or they're not hunting in. They're still trying to, get the information out and encourage people to go and sign a petition or whatever it is they can do to help.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I've seen that too the last 6 months and I made a comment just to myself, like, God, it seems like every other day us hunters are fighting for something. It was here in Colorado, it was cat hunting and then wearing orange during muzzleloader season. And Washington with a spring bear, like, it is everywhere. We're constantly fighting. And I guess the silver lining of that is we have been united to fight together, whether you're a gun hunter, bow hunter, long range guy, like, we're all fighting for the same thing, just to be able to continue to hunt and to have good science. That's the thing, is like, most of these is a political thing. Like, let's introduce wolves into Colorado. Are you freaking kidding me? That's oh my God. That's not science.
It's the one time you want to say follow the science. Literally that's what needs to happen right now. But that's not what's happening, as you know. That's people are making decisions based on emotion. Like, I think, I don't quote me on this, but I think how the spring bear started, of them wanting to take away our spring bear season here in Washington, is because some liberal group in Seattle was worried about the cubs either getting shot or the moms getting shot and then the cubs dying. That was their big thing. So that's how that started. Which for
we know, as a hunter, you don't ever shoot a sow with cubs anyway.
You don't.
That's not. You don't
I would say all ethical hunters know that. And I'm sure there's times when mistakes are made and someone doesn't do their due diligence and doesn't pay attention or look around long enough to see if the sow has cubs with her. I mean, obviously it happens, but at the same time, what these liberals don't realize is that if the bear population gets too high, or the boars, the male bears, kill the baby bears anyways. It's called infanticide. They kill the baby so that they
That's
can
right.
turn around and rebreed the mother. So it's like they have no like idea of how nature really works, or how cruel Mother Nature actually is.
It is brutal, and it is absolutely brutal. And I think people are like, oh, these cute little bears, let's protect them so they can have a happy home, happy life, and it's all to be warm butterflies and rainbows for them. Now, like, that is not nature.
Right.
And I tell people all the time is like, how can you kill something? I'm like, that is the best death they'll ever have. They'll never have a better death. It's either starvation, freezing to death, or being eaten alive. Which death would you rather have? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the mindset, and I always battle, like, do I want to have the arguments with them and try to educate them? And sometimes I will. It depends on the person. Like, you have to gauge how well they, how open they are to accepting different ideas, something different than theirs. And there's conversations I have there, I think I've made people understand it better. And then there's some that are so far off the deep end, it doesn't matter what you say to them. They're just tunnel vision in their perception of hunting. And that's unfortunate, because there's just a lot of bad information out there. And so Washington, I mean, they took away hound hunting and they took away bear baiting years ago. I mean, that happened over 10 years ago. And then springtime, that's a great time to kill bears because they're out foraging for berries. We have a lot of berries here. So now if you take away all of those things, there's no predator management anymore. So now they're saying, well, you have fall season. So you just have to come along a bear sometime in the fall, probably while you're hunting deer or elk, to be able to shoot one, because you can't hound hunt them, you can't bait them, and you can't hunt them in the spring. Okay, we're not going to be able to manage a healthy population just with that one hunting season in the fall.
And Sarah, do you know what you just described right there?
Conservation.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado. We have no spring season. We can't hunt them with hounds, and we can't bait. We can only run across them in the fall. So you hunt like water holes, and hopefully you glass them up. And then we have a bear problem.
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah. You literally described Colorado.
Well, wait till you guys get wolves there. Then it'll be even better.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
there will
there.
be no elk or deer left in Colorado.
No. And they're already causing problems with farmers. Like there's so many livestock now that have been demolished, and it's ridiculous. But all right. Yeah. All right. Enough with the negativity, I guess, right? Let me change the script here a little bit. Let's talk about, I always very curious to know like how people get into hunting. And I know usually it's passed down from parents, but yeah, you as a woman hunter, how'd you get in?
Through my dad. My dad and my brother have always been big into hunting. And for me, it was almost more like I was at such a young age. I wasn't interested in the hunting aspect of it. I was interested in spending time with my dad. My parents were divorced at a very young age. So I only got to see my dad on the weekends and sometimes in the summer. And then on the weekends, if it was in the fall, he wanted to be hunting. So I was like, well, if I want to be able to spend time with my dad, looks like I'm going hunting with him, which he wanted. It wasn't like I was like begging him. He obviously wanted me to come along with him. So it started out just tagging along with him. And I don't know that I was really seriously interested in trying to shoot something until I was later in my teens. And there was a couple of hunts I went on with him where I wasn't quick enough to shoot. Like, there's a deer and I wasn't quick enough and it was going to take off. So he shot it. And that was fine. Like I had a lot of good learning experiences going out on those trips with my dad.
Yeah. And I same way with me, my dad. Right. And and for people that don't hunt, that's one thing they don't understand is like, that's such a bonding activity. It's not about killing that deer. It's spending time with the person that you love, and you bond with them. Mm-hmm. You have memories you can look back and say, remember that time that we got stuck, or remember that time we were out in the woods and we kind of got lost for a while. And that's just bonding time with your family.
Yeah. I mean, I think back on my life and all the things I've done, and I don't remember the nights at the bars with my girlfriends or whatever, so-and-so's party or, any of that. I remember my time in the woods, my time with my dad, my time with my brother. Like those are truly my fondest memories and the ones that are, most prevalent that I'll have forever. And so now, of course, with my kids and, you have a daughter too, like now that's our goal with our kids, to pass down the tradition. And I think we've both done a good job with that. You're getting Bella out there and making her work hard. I see on her elk hunt. I'm laughing about that. I'm like, that poor girl. I know the feeling. I just wanted to be like, oh, I know what it's like for you.
That was a fun trip too. And you're right. Like now we're passing on to our kids, and I see you taking your kids out, and you take your daughter to that camp in Texas, which looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I take Bella out. But you know what? I was teasing her the other day. Like when I was growing up, and if someone shot something and brought it back, like an uncle or an aunt or my mom, because my mom hunted a lot growing up too, and someone brought, I was so excited. I would run out the door and see, what is it? Oh my God, like tell me the story. How did it go down? Like I was so excited about that stuff. And Bella is like literally like, meh, whatever. Let me know when I can go hunting. And like, cool, I'll take you hunting. And we went on that elk hunt, and she's like listening to music. She got her earbuds in, just hanging out, and like, what are you doing? Do you want to like look for the animals? She's like, nah, you tell me when there's one to shoot.
At that age, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But yeah, she like pulled off a great shot, killed her first elk, and of course, hey, carry her quarter. Come on, grab it. So yeah, that was
I saw that. That's awesome. I made Cadence do that too. When she shot a deer in Texas, the guides were like, oh, we'll gut it out and drag it. I'm like, no, she'll do it. She'll do it.
Heck yeah, that's part of the experience. That's great.
Because that's how, like, we're going back to talking about those women who don't do any of it. They pretend like they do, but they don't. And they just pose with the pictures. And that's because their dads or whoever they went hunting with didn't make them do it.
That's right.
I mean, if you have someone there, if you're a 10-year-old girl and you have someone offering to gut your deer and do all the work, of course, you're going to be like, yeah, you do it for me. But you're not supposed to give them that option. You're supposed to say, no, you're doing it. And then they can learn the right way.
That's right. And that's kind of a rite of passage for my family's like, okay, you killed your first animal. Here's a knife. You need to gut it now. This is your rite of passage, and tease about the little things of like wearing the blood on the face or taking a bite of the heart. Like just funny stuff. Like we don't, but like, but yeah, that's a rite of passage. Absolutely.
Yeah. We do the same thing with like eating it too. Like I tell her, like she'll complain sometimes, I don't feel like eating deer meat tonight. And I told her, well, you're not going to hunt because we kill to eat meat. And if you're saying, you don't like the taste of deer meat or whatever, or complain about dinner every night, then you're not hunting. And so that's another one of our rules that I think is sometimes important, that they know it's not just for fun. I mean, we have fun doing it, but there's a bigger picture to it all. And so I try to teach them everything along the way, when it comes to that. And that's what my dad did with me, the importance from start to finish of the whole process.
That's so important, especially what you said about eating the animals. Like we took that animal's life, and how you respect that animal the most is making sure you eat the animal, every piece that you can. So I really appreciate that a lot. So do you have any hunts coming up with Cadence?
So we are going to go back to that kids camp, which they don't do hunting at that. That's just that, where they're teaching them the hunting skills. It's on a ranch, but the kids don't actually hunt while they're there. So I'm going to take her to that again in July or June. And then we'll probably just do our regular seasons here in Washington. Like she'll blacktail hunt. I got her an elk tag last year. We didn't get a chance to go out much, but I'll try to take her out for some elk hunting too. So it's finding that balance with her. I'm sure you know how it goes, where I want to push her to go out and do it, but at the same time, if she isn't feeling it, I don't want to pressure her so much that it ruins it for her, So I kind of always have to like feel her out and see. Most days she wants to go. Her biggest thing is she doesn't like getting up early, which I don't either. Join the club. I'm like, come on, I don't like it any more than you do. And they're getting into those teenage years where all they want to do is sleep. So hard part for her is getting out of bed in the morning. But once I get her out there, she likes it. So we'll do as much as we can this year.
Yeah. I mean, no one likes getting up early. I mean, most people don't like getting up early. I don't. But I tell you what, if it's hunting, I'll be up at 3:00 in the morning. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Especially opening
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not quite there yet about, because I'm the same way. I only get up early for one thing, and that's hunting, but she's not quite there yet. But I tell you what, after she got her first kill, because you can always tell when someone gets their first kill, like how they're going to be with hunting. It kind of like sets the standard for how they feel about things. They're going to love it, or they're going to realize it's not their thing. And she took right after her mom. She was like hooked instantly. Just wanted to kill
Oh
everything.
man, now we got another serial killer on our hands.
Yeah, we call her Killer K.
Killer K. I'll have to remember that.
Gosh, yeah, she's a killer. So it's in her blood. I want to get her an archery kill. You know, Caleb took her to Texas in last August, to try to get her a hog, because she finally got to 40 pounds on her bow. So we've been working with her to try to get to the right weight, and she got to 40 pounds. So I was like, okay, let's take you to Texas, see if you can shoot some hogs. And he said that she got pretty close. They would come in like right at dark. She's a very ethical, responsible hunter. Hopefully it's has to do with how we raised her. I want to take credit for it. But just being 10, I'm always surprised on how ethical she is and how well she thinks things through, because they would come in and it would still be legal shooting light, but she'd be like, I can't see him well enough. Like, I don't think I could do a good shot on it. Like, I can't see my pin well enough. I don't think I should take the shot. For a 9 or 10-year-old girl to recognize that, where any one of us would just be flinging arrows at the girl, you know. But for her, like, no, I don't feel comfortable. And she did the same thing here during blacktail season. There was a deer in front of us, and she was rifle hunting, and she pulled up on it, and she was shaking, and she was really nervous. And I explained to her, like, don't take the shot till you're ready. Don't take the shot till you're calm, your nerves, and you're not shaking. And she waited for 5 minutes. She couldn't do it. Luckily, it was a young, dumb deer, so I was standing there this whole time. So I had her take the gun off the sticks. I talked her through it, you know, take some deep breaths. This isn't a big deal. She tried like 3 times, and she never was able to get the shot off because she couldn't keep her nerves down. And then the deer ended up running off, and she was really upset. And she said, I failed as a hunter, Mom. I'm going to be a hunter. And I said, Cadence, I'm like, this is the exact opposite. I go, the fact that you were mature enough to know that you couldn't take a good shot because you were too nervous. I go, most adults don't do that. They get target panic, and they'll shoot, and they'll make a bad shot, and they'll wound that animal, or they'll miss the animal. I go, for you to recognize that you didn't have it in you to make a good, ethical, clean kill shot actually makes you a very good hunter. So I had that conversation with her, and I felt like that was like my proud mom moment. So she's gonna be an awesome hunter, and hopefully a really good role model for other youth hunters and female hunters.
That sounds like it. That's would you call it, not serial K, Killer K?
Killer K, yeah.
Killer K, yeah. We'll have to spend some more time with Killer K.
Yeah, so we'll see how she does this year. I'm excited for her. Like I said, we'll see if she can get herself a bow kill.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about your Cape Buffalo hunt.
Yeah, that was exciting. I wish you could have been
there. I know. I wanted to be there. I was supposed to be there.
Man, we had a hard time getting to Africa, didn't we?
Well, and you were like, we didn't know if you were banned from like every airline from.
That's true. We did not know this.
Sarah might not even be able to fly. We don't know what's going on, but yeah, I wish I was there.
I'm just like praying to myself, okay, I'm not blacklisted, am I? Yeah. For anyone listening, it just has to do with me getting kicked off a flight for wearing a Trump mask. So you can, that's a whole different story. But yes, so we didn't know if I could make it on the airplane for being a domestic terrorist. My flights kept getting canceled because of like COVID stuff going on. So I had 3 flights canceled. And then finally, I think you were just like, okay, screw it. I'm doing my own thing, which was fine. I don't blame you because it was turning into such a shit show. But I was nervous. So I think the last thing that happened is, remember all the rioting that was going on in Johannesburg?
That's right. Yeah, there was a lot going on.
That was happening close to where we were going to be, and people were legit like getting killed. And I remember, you know, Caleb wasn't going to go with me. I was going to be flying there by myself. And I was like, do you want me to still go? I mean, do you feel? He's like, you'll be fine. He's like, you'll be fine. And I asked other people people. Like I asked like Aaron Snyder and Luke and those guys, I was like, do you think I should go? And they're like, fuck no, you're crazy. Don't go right now. And then, you know, I went. I was like,
Of
no,
course.
so I got there, and actually it was like flawless getting there. Like I didn't have any flight issues or travel issues. I wasn't banned. You know, it was good. So that was smooth sailing. And then we got right on the Cape Buffalo hunt. I think it was like day 2 that we actually got to the bull that we knew I wanted to shoot. And I trained for almost a whole year leading up to this hunt because I had to get up to like 75, 80 pounds on my bow, which
if you
before
guys
I
are
planned
listening, you
the hunt,
guys, that is a ton of weight. Like I shoot
yeah,
70, sometimes I shoot 80, but like, you know, I'm pretty fit. I do CrossFit every day, but that is a ton of weight. So props to Sarah to get up and be able to pull that.
yeah, I did the CrossFit stuff for, like I said, about 6 to 8 months, hitting it pretty hard. And I can only pull that back on certain bows. So there are definitely other bows, like models and brands, that I cannot do that weight on. But my PSE bow with their cam system that they have, I'm able to do it. It's actually the bow you just got, the Mach 1.
Yeah. I love that bow, by the way.
It is an amazing bow. So that worked out perfect. I also had to do a full arrow build that Troy Fowler helped me with, because we had to have a really heavy, high FOC arrow. So I think we ended with like 750 grains or something on my total arrow weight. So I had to completely sight in my bow. You know, those arrows fly a lot different than the arrows you just normally shoot at home when you're practicing in the backyard. It's a whole
For
different ball.
sure. What was up front? Do you remember what the FOC was? Front of center, by the way, guys, if you're listening, up front. What
So
that was?
I think my broadhead was I think it was 320 grains. So out of a 700 and about 40, 50 grain air. I mean, it's like, I don't know what the percentage is on that, 20 something.
Right.
It's
I mean,
high.
it was super
high.
heavy, and you have to be super heavy to shoot buffalo that way.
Right. Yeah. And so there's only other one female that I know of, Joella Bates, who has ever shot a Cape Buffalo with a bow. So that was kind of my motivation. I'm always trying to look for like the next big adventurous thing I can do and also risk my life while doing it.
Let me pause it real quick. So like, I'm talking to my wife about this, and are you still there, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're breaking up a little bit, but because we're planning on going to Africa with you, and I'm talking to my wife about this, and she's like, wait, so it's dangerous. I'm like, yeah, it's a Cape Buffalo. They call it Black Death. Like, this is one of the most dangerous games to hunt. Sarah wants to hunt it with her bow, and she wants me to film it. She's like, you're going to do what? So like, there's definitely like a lot of danger in that hunt. So we don't take that lightly. Like, that's a very dangerous hunt. Like, it's a dangerous hunt for a gun, let alone a bow.
I mean, like, I mean, they kill more. I think the only other animal that kills more people in Africa is a hippo. So they are responsible for a lot of deaths in Africa every year. And people that do hunt them with a rifle, or they hunt them from a blind with a bow. And the first thing I told my PH, which luckily I'm very close with and friends with him, I've hunted with him several times before, is I do not want to put this animal down with a rifle, and I do not want to hunt it from a blind. And he had some other clients who were there hunting with him before I got there, and he convinced them to do it from a blind. And he told them, you need to convince Sarah to do it from a blind, because he's just as scared as I am. It's scary for everyone involved. I mean, it's just as dangerous for him as it is for me, or for you as the cameraman. If you were there, you know, we're putting everyone's lives at risk. So he was trying to convince me to do it out of a blind. And I made a deal with him that I would sit in a blind the first day to see what it was like, to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I did. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I go, we're getting on the ground, we're spot and stalking, and we're doing it how I want to do it. And he's like, okay. And so, and I'm glad that he, you know, agreed to do that, because he flat out told me there's not very many people I would do this with. He said, I'm doing it with you because I've hunted with you, and I know you're a good shot. I know you're a responsible hunter. I know you trained for this, and that is the only reason. He said, do not go telling people I will take them on a Cape Buffalo bow hunt. I probably won't. I'm like, okay. So since you weren't there to film, so how it works is there's me with my bow, then there's two PHs which professional hunter, that's what they call like the guides over in Africa, PHs. They each have like a high powered caliber rifle with them, because these buffalo charge you, you know, that's how they kill you, is they trample you. So they both had, they're both supposed to have guns, but because I needed someone to film, I had to ask one of the PHs to actually have a camera instead of a gun. He said, well, what we'll have to do is we'll have to bring one of the helpers, one of the skinners, one of the guys that usually stays back and skins the animals at camp. We'll have to bring him to carry the second gun for us. And what we'll do is when the buffalo charges us, he'll have to hand me the gun, you know, so I can see if we need to shoot this thing. So we get our plan together, we get ready to go after this buffalo, and they tell me, when this thing charges us, you cannot run from it. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just supposed to stand there? And they're like, you're just not supposed to run. You just have to stand your ground and yell and make noise and try to look bigger than it is. Okay. And there's like no trees or anything to climb. So if there's no way to escape this. There's some shrubs, some brush, what it can mow right through, but there's no escaping this. So we get out there and start stalking it. And and we have our game plan of what's supposed to happen. If this thing charges us, the PH is dropping the camera, getting the gun from this kid who's never even gone out on a hunt before. He's a skinner, grabbing the gun. So if we have to shoot it, we have to shoot it. This
sounds
thing
like
charges
no one
us.
was happy about this. The poor kid was probably shitting his pants. The PH is holding a camera, not a gun. No one's happy about this.
No one's happy about this. So this buffalo charges us, so the mock charges us within like the first 20 minutes. This is what happens. The PH drops the camera, turns to the skinner to grab the gun. The skinner is running with the gun in the opposite direction. He trips and falls. He's laying fetal position, curled up like this with the gun on the ground, shaking.
Oh my!
And I look and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die out here. I'm going to die out here. I'm like, this is not how this is supposed to happen. So they're like yelling at this kid. This poor kid had to have pissed his pants. I mean, he was so scared. They're like, you cannot drop the gun. When this thing charges us, you have to hand the gun to us. And they told me, they're like, this buffalo is going to keep doing this. Like, that's their nature. They will mock charge you, which means they're kind of bluffing. They're not going to come all the way to you, but they'll come running full speed to like 20 yards. And then it's up to you. We have to like get together in a group and wave and scream and yell to kind of get him to back off. So we just kept doing that, and we get like 40 yards, I think was the closest we could get. And my PH said, you cannot shoot this thing under 20 yards, because penetration issues for the arrow. So we have to get closer. And they're so big. So we'd be stalking it and it looks like it's like right there. And I'd be like, okay, we're at 20 yards, right? And he'd have the rangefinder. He's like, no, we're at 40. We need to close 20 more yards. I'm like, you've got to 20 more yards. So that was the crazy thing, is that looks are so deceiving. They're just huge animals. And so the more we kept pushing this thing, the more pissed it was getting. And he told me, my PH, he's like, listen, this thing will only mark charge a couple times and then he's coming for us. So we need to get this done. I'm like, okay. So you can imagine having to like stay calm. Like, I'm just telling myself, I have to stay calm, because when I get to full draw on this thing, I cannot be shaking. My heart rate cannot be through the roof. And you have to worry about if it's going to come charging at you and try to kill you. You have to worry about if the skinner is going to hand the gun to the PH like he's supposed to.
Or if he's going to be running in a fetal position.
There's just like a million things going through your head. But we finally got to and the problem is he was a smart bull. He kept wanting to stand like straight on at us. He would never turn broadside. He'd always want to be straight on. So towards the end, we were talking about doing a frontal, and we had actually identified there was like a little white spot on his chest, and they wanted me to use that as a marker. And they were saying, you probably are going to need to hit that in that area to get a heart shot or lungs, but we need to think about a frontal, which anyone who knows anything about Cape buffalo hunting, That is insane to think you're going to do a frontal shot on a Cape buffalo at 20 yards, no cover with a bow. I mean, it's just like, I don't even know what we were thinking, but that was our plan. So we get up to it. We're at 25 yards and I'm like, dude, we're not going to get closer to this thing. It's going to charge us. We just need to get it done. I have a frontal shot. So I start to pull back and then he like turns a little bit, like he's going to go more broadside. So I'm like, well, shit, maybe I'll get a broadside shot. So I let down and then he goes all the way broadside. And I was like, oh my God. And so I drew back and I let, arrow fly. It was a perfect shot. This thing luckily took off the opposite direction, did not come at us. And I was like, I can't explain the feeling, like the dump of emotion, like the adrenaline dump, because everything was so intense. And when you let that arrow go, it was just like a sigh of relief. I'm safe. I know for sure now that I'm probably not going to die. It's just like it was a very bizarre feeling, nothing that I've had when I've shot at other animals. But then he had to follow that up, my celebration, with, well, now it's really dangerous because now we have to track a wounded Cape buffalo, which is even more dangerous. I'm like, okay. So we decided to wait for like, I don't even know how long, like an hour and a half before we even started trying to look for this thing, because the brush was so thick that the problem was, if this thing was not dead and was in the brush somewhere and we couldn't see it and it decided to come after us, like we were dead. At least when it's like standing up, we're following it and or staying on it, we know where it is. Well, now that it's ran off with an arrow in it, we don't know. So we wanted to get plenty of time. We ended up finding it dead, so we did not have to deal with the wounded Cape buffalo. He had actually found a mud hole at some point, rolled around in the mud hole, which I don't know how much penetration my arrow got initially compared to if he's rolling around this mud hole, if he pushed it in even more, but it ended up getting double lung. So it didn't break out the other side. It couldn't get through the other rib, but it did hit both lungs. So that was exciting. That was like our goal, that if it wasn't going to be a heart shot, it had to be a double lung shot. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I didn't have to put it down with the rifle. I didn't die. I got it spot and stock with a bow, and I got it on film. So very excited.
There's only one way to top that, Sarah. Grizzly bear with a knife.
Oh, right. Well, I did bring up wanting to do the buffalo with a recurve, and my pH wasn't going for it. So
hell no. Are you kidding me?
It was funny because I'm good friends with his wife, and she joined us at camp like a couple of days later, and she's like, Sarah, he was just a ball of emotions the last 3 months. He has been so on edge about this Cape buffalo hunt. He's a hot mess. She's a hot fucking mess. She's like, I couldn't even handle it. And I was like, well, it's over now and it's done. And she's like, thank God. She said that he was just super nervous about it. So he's just described it, and everyone that I know has described it. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it. I mean, he's shot a ton of buffalo and guided a ton of buffalo hunts, but it doesn't get any less scary with those animals. It's not something you get used to. It's just as scary every time. So I highly recommend it for anyone looking for a good thrill.
And increase your life insurance before you go on the hunt.
Yeah. So Caleb was happy to have me back home. My PH is now telling me he wants me to shoot a lion spot and stock with a bow.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I'm going to do that, but
that is crazy.
Down the road, we'll see.
That's crazy. Well, you'll have to let me know if that comes to fruition or not, because that would be something that's very cool to look at from a mile away and watch you shoot a lion with a bow.
Are you going to like one of those really good zoom lenses so you can film it from like that far away?
Hell yeah. In like my own safety of a cage or something. I'll put a shark cage out there so nothing gets me.
Well, I think you need to try to get Cape buffalo. Are you going to go to Africa again? You had a good experience after you got through the customs issues, you did, right?
Yeah, it was a great experience. It was a blast hunting. And the only danger we got into, there was lions. There was a night I was in my hut, and our huts were like, there was no windows. Like Like if anything wanted to come in the window, they could, right? It was just like this little
Yeah.
meshy wire. And there was a lion that was roaring like 100 yards outside my hut at night. Talk about
Yeah.
puckering your butt, man. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That was scary. We almost
That's
got
about as
charged by an elephant. That was as close to danger we got there, but I loved it. It was awesome. It was a super hard hunt, which I like. Very challenging. But I'd definitely go back again, and that is kind of on my next bucket list. Would be a Cape buffalo with a bow, just so I can follow in your footsteps a little bit. But
do they have out where you were on the free range? Do they have buffalo out at that same place that you were at?
Oh yeah, we saw a herd of like 40 of them when we were there. So there's definitely a good amount of buffalo there. I don't,
Nice.
I don't know if there's a bull as big as the one that you shot, but because I don't think they get quite as big in that region. But anyway, to shoot a Cape buffalo with a bow, that's an ultimate hunt right there.
Yeah, it's fun. I think you should do it.
All right, so kind of to cap up this podcast, what do you got planned for this season?
I'm hoping to try to do a cat hunt, which that would have to happen in the next month or so if that was going to happen. If not, I think December. That's always been on my bucket list, to shoot a cougar with my bow. I really would like to do that. I'm going to do my over-the-counter hunts here in Washington. Obviously, elk is always my top priority. I've thought about going back to Colorado just because I enjoyed the pain a little bit too much, like to get my ass kicked. So why not?
Come on back.
So I've thought about doing another Colorado hunt. Caleb's going to Africa in July. I haven't decided if I'm going to go on that trip with him yet or not. It's kind of up in the air. It gets hard when you're juggling kids and business, and usually on these hunts there's only one of us going at a time. I think I've maybe only ever hunted with him a couple times, believe it or not, my husband. Other than that, I'm usually on my own. I kind of want to do Scotland. I want to take it, like you and I have talked about that. So I've shot a red stag in Scotland 2 years ago. I want to take him for him to get one, and I just want to go along and spend some time sightseeing, because Scotland is freaking awesome.
Yeah, we were talking about that too. I was going to bring Allie, my wife, and you guys can hang and me and Caleb go hunt. That's definitely on my bucket list. That looks badass.
Yeah. So I've reached out to the outfitter I went with last time. I'm waiting to hear back from him, but I have reached out, and I definitely want to do that hunt. So I'll keep you posted. I'm also probably going to start working with a company in Australia that makes broadheads and arrows. And so I've been talking with them actually for almost a year, and they're going to send me some an arrow build, and I'm going to hunt with it and see if I like their products. And they've invited me to go to Australia and come hunt. Now, I don't think Australia is open right now, so that would be the only barrier on doing that. But as soon as Australia opens back up,
Australia that'd be super cool too. I just love hunting.
Yeah.
I want to go everywhere and hunt. If there's something to hunt, like if someone asks me, "Hey, do you want to go on vacation here?" I'm like, "What am I hunting?" that's all I say. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll see. Sometimes stuff just comes up that will take advantage of. That if someone invites me out to go do something. I think there might be a moose hunt that we're getting Caleb on for an organization that does Purple Heart hunts for veterans that have received Purple Hearts, which he has. So that's in Alaska. So I might join him. Yeah.
I've been wanting to get to Alaska. That's definitely on the top of my list of wanting to get there. Yeah.
You and I need to find a bush pilot and then make it happen. That's the biggest hurdle for the Alaska.
So if you're listening out there and you're a bush pilot, message me or Sarah. We need a bush pilot.
Yeah. So hopefully you and I can maybe do a couple other hunts together, whether it's Scotland or Alaska or wherever. We'll stay in touch and figure it out.
Yeah,
you have a baby.
Great.
Oh, how much?
I have a little hunter. My philosophy on this is like, it's like depositing in a bank, right? So for the next 3 months, all I'm going to be doing is deposit into the wife bank. for 3 months
Yeah.
because I want to go off and go hunt, and you can't ask for something unless you've given, right? So
That's right.
give for the next 3 months, and hopefully I can slip out of here and go on some cool hunts this year too.
Well, we are two lucky people because we have very supportive partners. You have an awesome wife, is very
Yes.
supportive. Props to Allie. She is an amazing woman. And then my husband, who not only puts up with me and my sass, but lets me go on my hunts too. So
Yeah,
we're
not
very fortunate.
only I mean, props to Caleb too. Like we don't know each other very well. I met him once when we were in Idaho, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, go backpacking with Kurt out 7 miles deep in the mountains." You know, that's pretty badass too, to have a
Yeah.
supportive husband like that too. So yes, we
Yeah.
do have good significant others, and I have a little bit of a benefit where Allie is not a hunter, so we're not competing against hunting seasons like you and Caleb do.
That is true. During hunting season, it's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith around here. Uh,
That's
yeah,
true.
but it's okay. So yeah, well, I thank you for having me on. I'm excited that you're starting a podcast again. I know you did it before and you seem like you love doing it. So
It is a lot of fun. I do like doing it. I like talking to people, and it's a great way to meet people on the podcast. And thanks for being on. Like, this was a fun podcast. I enjoyed hearing more about the Cape Buffalo hunt and everything you got going on. So I'm sure
yeah.
I'll probably bring you back on after this season, after do some other crazy dumbass shit that you usually do.
We'll see. The goal if Sarah and Kurt are going to make it through hunting season because they're out doing stupid stuff. You might fall off a cliff in Colorado. I mean, that happened. Who knows?
All right, Sarah, thanks for being on. This is the Western
Yeah.
Obsessions TV podcast. Thank you guys for listening. This is the Western Obsessions TV podcast, where hunting's not a hobby, it's an obsession.